Georgetta Gankars here. So I want to show you a tip that I have. When I have an old canvas, I kind of use it as my palette. So what I mean when I'm painting, I'll take the paint, the leftover paint, or if I'm just painting on a canvas, and I'll use this as my palette. So I have this left over. And then I can start, an abstract painting from that. The other thing that you can do, because it's kind of creative, you would not make these marks, you're not thinking about them, you're just using this as your palette, and you're painting on a regular canvas, but you're using your palette knife and you don't know what's going to happen. And then you can recycle this canvas. The other thing that I do is I have watercolor paper, and I can take the watercolor paper when I'm using the canvas as my palette, and I can press it down. And you can use a brayer if you want. I have a brayer. But if you press it down, I'll do it here. You could use a rolling pin too. I'm using just my hand because I'm doing a fast. I don't want all of the paint to come off. And what ends up happening is I keep doing it and I get this. And then what I'll do is when I want to start something abstract, I'll take lines and I'll just use these lines and intersect them and make something new. And I'll show you. Say for an example, I'm just going to put these colors on here now. I'm really not thinking about where they're going on the canvas. I'm just putting them, as you can see. I'm refilling some of this color here. And you want to make sure that you wipe off your knife. Want your knife to be pretty clean. You're going to use the same watercolor paper that we were using here. Just want to make sure that these areas are saturated. Okay, and we can do that. We can keep doing that same process again. I'm going to give a firm press. And I keep doing that until the paper starts to drastically change. So it's another tip. I also do that because sometimes when I'm doing abstraction, I want this to happen. You can use a brayer, you can use a sponge. And if you're painting with spontaneity, spontaneousness, I'm sorry, you have spontaneity, you're not really paying attention to what's happening, and you can just keep building it up. So it's just another tip to use your canvas again as a palette. If it gets too much paint on it, you can take your watercolor paper, press it down, and then you can have something else abstract to work on. Now I want to show you this because I'm going to remove it in front of you. What I want to do is, it's really bright with all the colors. I'm going to spray it down with water. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my card. As you know, it's an old recycled card. And what I can do is I can decide where I want to scrape. But you really have to have water underneath. If you don't have the water, it won't work. And if you're using oils, you want to use, a little bit of your, don't use linseed, just use turp. And you can see what happens, how the paint starts mixing here, but it doesn't get muddy. And I'll show you. We can drag that down, and look what happened here. Okay, but you have to make sure that you have lots of paper towels and that you keep wiping off the edge of the card. Or if you have a towel, make sure that you turn it to the other side where you're not picking up paint. And it's a nice way to kind of just get the colors mixing. What's happening here. That really wouldn't happen if you were not kind of using this effect. And as you can see underneath, I have a little bit of gold leaf because I recycled this palette, this canvas. So I'm just going to keep building it up, and I'll show you how we can gradually change this and make it a little bit more abstract. So again, we're just doing this with a palette knife, and it's an idea of taking an old recycled canvas and just building it up with spontaneity. Okay. I hope to see you in one of my classes. Classes are a great way to paint especially online, because you meet a lot of different other artists, and you're not doing things by yourself. You have a critique, and you have other artists that you're influenced by. We study a lot of art history in the classes, and artists. I have artists in different levels, so I'm working with a lot of artists that are beginners, intermediate, advanced, and I help you build your own vision. And I also I don't only teach abstraction. I do realism also. But if this is something that you're interested in, hopefully I'll see you in one of my classes and you'll meet the other students and we'll have a great time painting. Okay, ciao.